The global maritime balance of power is undergoing a fundamental shift driven by the unprecedented industrial output of Chinese shipyards, a phenomenon best exemplified by the rapid proliferation of the Type 052D Luyang III class destroyer. Since the commissioning of the lead ship in 2014, the scale of production has accelerated to a velocity unmatched in modern naval history, with international observers noting that China is now capable of launching more destroyers in a single year than most major powers possess in their entire inventory. This expansion is centered on the Dalian and Jiangnan shipyards, where modular construction techniques and massive infrastructure investments have allowed for the simultaneous assembly of multiple hulls, effectively creating a production line for high-end surface combatants. In 2025 and early 2026, the commissioning of ships like the Ganzi and the Laudi signaled a transition into a new phase of fleet density, where the total number of Type 052D air defense destroyers is projected to eventually exceed 50 units. This rate of growth is statistically significant when compared to Western counterparts. While the United States Navy remains the most powerful global maritime force, its procurement of the Arleigh Burke class has historically been constrained by budgetary cycles and industrial bottlenecks that China appears to have bypassed through a centralized military-civil fusion strategy. International defense analysts point out that this is not merely about raw numbers, but about the sustained drumbeat of delivery that allows the People's Liberation Army Navy to retire older, obsolete vessels while maintaining a constant influx of modern platforms. The Type 052D has become the workhorse of the Chinese fleet, providing a versatile, mass-produced hull that bridges the gap between smaller frigates and the massive Type 055 superdestroyers. As the fleet expands, the logistical tail and personnel training requirements have also scaled upward, reflecting a comprehensive national effort to transform from a green-water coastal force into a blue-water global navy. The sheer physical footprint of these shipyards, visible via satellite imagery, confirms that the expansion of the Type 052D is a long-term strategic priority aimed at achieving regional dominance and establishing a persistent presence across the Indo-Pacific and beyond, fundamentally altering the strategic calculations of rival nations and ensuring that the Chinese Navy remains the fastest-growing maritime force in the world today. The technological trajectory of the Type 052D destroyer has not remained static, as evidenced by the introduction of the DL, or Mod 3, variant, which incorporates significant structural and electronic upgrades over the original design. International defense journals highlight that the most critical enhancement in the newest batches, such as Hull 128, is the integration of a new dual-face rotating active electronically scanned array radar system positioned on the aft mast, replacing the older Type 364 search radar. This upgrade is specifically designed to provide superior detection capabilities against low-flying cruise missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles, while eliminating the blind spots that existed in earlier iterations of the class. Furthermore, the physical dimensions of the ship have been modified. The hull has been extended by approximately 5 meters at the stern to create a larger flight deck. This stretched configuration is a direct response to the operational requirement for the Z-20 naval helicopter, a more sophisticated and heavier platform than the older Harbin Z9, which significantly enhances the ship's anti-submarine warfare and search and rescue capabilities. Inside the hull, the integration of the Universal Vertical Launch System remains the centerpiece of its lethality, featuring 64 cells capable of cold and hot, launching a diverse array of munitions. Analysts emphasize that the Type 052D's ability to carry the HHQ 9B long-range surface-to-air missiles provides a robust area defense umbrella that is comparable to the American Aegis combat system. The electronic warfare suites and data linking capabilities have also seen iterative improvements, allowing these ships to act as command nodes within a larger task group. By standardizing these advanced technologies across a massive fleet, China has achieved an economy of scale that allows for high-tech naval warfare capabilities to be deployed at a fraction of the per-unit cost seen in Western programs. This evolution from the basic Type 052D to the refined DL variant demonstrates a sophisticated iterative design philosophy, where the Chinese Navy identifies operational gaps in real time and applies engineering solutions to the next batch of ships on the assembly line, ensuring that the fleet remains at the cutting edge of naval technology while maintaining the momentum of its rapid expansion and providing a formidable challenge to any adversary's air and subsurface assets. As the Type 052D fleet expands, its primary strategic role has shifted toward the protection of China's burgeoning aircraft carrier program, serving as the essential bodyguard for the Liaoning, Shandong, and a newly active Fujian. International maritime strategy experts observe that a modern carrier strike group is only as effective as its escort screening, and the Type 052D provides the high-altitude air defense and multi-layered missile interception necessary to ensure the survival of the flagship in a high-intensity conflict. With 64 vertical launch cells, each destroyer can provide a massive volume of interceptors, creating a bubble of protection that extends hundreds of kilometers from the center of the task force. This capability is vital for China's anti-access/area denial strategy, as it allows the fleet to operate further into the Philippine Sea and the Western Pacific while remaining shielded from land-based or carrier-based aviation. Beyond carrier escort duties, the Type 052D is increasingly being deployed as the centerpiece of independent surface action groups, where its balance of speed, endurance, and firepower allows it to conduct long-range patrols and show-of-force missions. Recent international reports have tracked these vessels moving through the Miyako Strait and into the deep Pacific, demonstrating a level of operational maturity that was absent a decade ago. The integration of these ships into a networked fleet architecture means they can receive targeting data from remote sensors, including satellites and high-altitude long-endurance drones, allowing them to engage targets far beyond their organic radar horizon. This networked approach transforms the Type 052D from a localized defensive asset into a critical component of a global strike complex. Furthermore, the presence of these destroyers in joint exercises with other nations, such as Russia and Iran, serves a diplomatic and psychological function, signaling China's emergence as a premier naval power capable of sustaining complex operations far from its home ports. The strategic value of the Type 052D, therefore, lies not just in its individual combat power, but in its role as a force multiplier that enables the People's Liberation Army Navy to project power across the first and second island chains, effectively challenging the long-standing maritime hegemony of the United States and its regional allies in the Pacific theater of operations. One of the most significant developments reported by international defense outlets in 2026 is the successful integration of hypersonic weaponry onto the Type 052D platform, a move that fundamentally changes the offensive calculus of naval warfare. While originally designed for air defense, the newest variants of the Luyang III are now believed to be equipped with the YJ-21 shipborne anti-ship ballistic missile, a weapon system that utilizes a maneuverable reentry vehicle to strike large surface targets at speeds exceeding Mach 5. Previously, this capability was thought to be restricted to the larger Type 055 destroyer due to the size and weight of the missiles, but technical refinements have allowed the Type 052DS universal launch cells to accommodate these carrier-killer weapons. This gives a relatively mid-sized destroyer the ability to threaten much larger capital ships from distances that exceed the range of traditional anti-ship cruise missiles. In addition to hypersonic threats, the Type 052D carries the YJ-18 supersonic anti-ship missile, which employs a sea-skimming profile to evade detection until the final seconds of flight. The combination of high-altitude ballistic trajectories and low-altitude cruise profiles creates a saturated threat environment that can overwhelm even the most advanced shipboard defense systems. International analysts note that this shift toward offensive strike capabilities reflects a change in Chinese naval doctrine, moving from a purely defensive posture to one of active deterrence and power projection. The ship's land attack capabilities have also been enhanced, with the potential to carry long-range cruise missiles similar to the American Tomahawk, allowing the PLA Navy to strike inland targets from the safety of the open ocean. This multi-role versatility makes the Type 052D a lethal asset in a variety of scenarios, from high-sea ship-to-ship duels to literal combat and support for amphibious landings. By equipping dozens of these destroyers with such potent offensive tools, China has effectively distributed its strike power across a large and resilient fleet, ensuring that the loss of any single vessel does not significantly degrade the overall combat effectiveness of the force. This focus on high-end lethality confirms that the Type 052D is not just a defensive escort, but a primary instrument of Chinese offensive military strategy in the 21st century. The rapid expansion of the Type 052D destroyer fleet represents more than just a military buildup. It is the physical manifestation of a shifting global order and the end of uncontested Western maritime dominance. International articles and geopolitical analysts emphasize that the sheer volume of these sophisticated warships allows China to maintain a persistent presence in strategic choke points, such as the Strait of Malacca and the Horn of Africa, where they can protect Chinese commercial interests in Belt and Road Initiative projects. This permanent over-the-horizon presence provides Beijing with significant diplomatic leverage, as the sight of a modern Type 052D in a foreign port serves as a potent reminder of China's technological and industrial might. Furthermore, the speed of this buildup has forced a strategic reassessment in Washington, Tokyo, and Canberra, leading to increased defense spending and the formation of new security pacts like AUKUS. However, the industrial lead China has established in naval shipbuilding remains difficult to overcome. The world's fastest expansion means that even if competitors increase their production today, it will take years, if not decades, to match the hull count and integrated capabilities of the PLA Navy's destroyer force. There are also implications for the global arms market, as China has begun offering a simplified export version of the Type 052D, known as the W01, to international customers, potentially providing middle-tier powers with access to advanced air defense technology that was previously unavailable. As we look toward the late 2020s, the Type 052D will likely remain the most visible symbol of China's naval ambitions, embodying a blend of mass production, efficiency, and high-tech sophistication. The global community must now navigate a reality where the ocean is no longer a Western lake, but a contested space where a new superpower could deploy a fleet of 50 or more advanced destroyers to enforce its will. In conclusion, the Type 052D program is the engine of a maritime revolution, driven by a nation that has successfully harnessed its industrial base to create a world-class navy in record time, forever altering the geopolitical landscape and the future of international security on the high seas.